Good evening, guys. Good evening, guys. If you can't see or hear us, or a combination of both, it'd be great if you could pop down a comment just for a bit of fun. If rather than comment live or anything like that, if you've ever been ambushed by birthday cake or anything similar, let us know and let us know what you've been ambushed by previously, just for a bit of fun. I myself tend to get ambushed by a pizza and chips every Friday night. They just kind of arrive and yeah, I get ambushed. So if you can see this, guys, that would be great to let us know. We have Seth on tonight. Really, really interested in speaking to him. I'll let him introduce himself shortly. Full-time Amazon bookseller. Talk about numbers, talk about selling in the US, talk about traveling. Plenty to talk about this evening. So, Seth, how are you? How's your day been so far?
Hello, thank you very much for having me on. I am fantastic. I guess I can introduce myself now for a bit of context for anyone who doesn't know me. So I have been selling on Amazon since just over 4 years now. We just passed my anniversary of incorporating my limited company. I started on the UK market after watching a YouTube video which kind of said that you can buy any old items, toys, video games from the local Argos or whatever local retail store down the road, and then you can send it into Amazon and potentially make a profit just by sending it in and utilizing the Amazon fulfillment system, FBA. And I was pretty much hooked as soon as I saw that video, because I've been searching for anything to get me out of my corporate job, which was a really dull one in finance and accounting in London, in the city. And I really needed to find something to get out, because I was just absolutely sick and tired of it. And I don't think I'm the most intelligent person. So when I watched this YouTube video, I thought that something clicked, and it just made it very simple for me. All I need to do is buy a load of things at volume and send them into Amazon and sell them. And as long as I know that I'm making some sort of ROI and margin, and I've got my numbers mainly correct, then I should be able to make something of this. So I pretty much did the retail ARB thing and online ARB together for about 6 months, 7 months, and I wasn't very good at it, in the sense that I didn't really follow any of Amazon's rules on terms of service or anything. So I remember I was buying, just because the profit looked good on say, I'd be buying all sorts of things off eBay thinking that they were real, and they actually weren't. So I remember buying lots of Volkswagen hubcaps just because some, obviously they weren't real, right? But because in the eBay description, the guy or the seller was saying, yeah, these are real and genuine, I was thinking, oh yeah, and I just believed it, just because I guess I was just blinded by the pound signs, the dollar signs. So I was buying loads of Volkswagen hubcaps. I was buying loads of Pokemon games that clearly weren't genuine because the price was far too good. And obviously, a lot of people may know that on eBay is there's a lot of counterfeit stuff on eBay anyway. Yeah. You don't want to be buying on eBay, right? Because you can't really get an invoice, and it's just a bit risky. So I was making like quite decent money. I was probably,
sure you were.
yeah, exactly. I was making good.
I'm sure you were, yeah.
And I was replacing my like city finance salary, but obviously I wasn't following the rules. And that came pushed to a shove. That came to a head in July, I think it was, and Amazon banned me. I can't actually remember what the specific product was, but I was just getting a ton of bad reviews and my feedback rating was poor. So Amazon were just like, look, we don't want you selling on our platform anymore. And I did try to appeal it, and I must have sent off about 50 to 100 emails to the appeal, and kind of the Jeff at Amazon email and all sorts, and nothing really happened. And I was convinced that I'd be able to get the account back, but I don't know what experience you have with the appeal situation, but when it's as bad as probably I was making it, then I didn't really have a chance. So
Jeff wouldn't hear you out then. He wasn't
having any of it. I eventually got an email for them saying, I can't remember the exact words, but it was something like, you might as well stop stop sending me, like stop sending this email any appeals because we're very unlikely to look at it. So that kind of made me think, well, I need to find another avenue of making money here. And I was convinced that it had to be Amazon because I was making it work in a sense. I was selling some products that were real, right, and genuine, and I was making money, but I was trying to do it at volume, and I was like skimping on the terms of service and stuff. So luckily I fell into an email funnel which was telling me that I can sell books on the US market. And at this time, I didn't even know what a prep center was. So I'd been selling for 6 months from my London flat, and I actually didn't even know what a prep center was. Or I did know, but I didn't realize. I just didn't think of it as an option for me because I just thought, oh, it's an added cost, and it's taking kind of a part of my business away from me that I want to be in control of. So it's the standard kind of the entrepreneurial struggle of giving away, a part of your business, right? Which a lot of people, I know that in probably your Facebook group and my Facebook group, a lot of people struggle with the just giving away, like outsourcing anything, right? Whether it's a virtual assistant or a prep center or anything really.
Well, it's that business owner mindset as opposed to an employee mindset. So you were probably still working at the time and working for someone else. So you've got that mindset where, it's all about the time that you put in rather than leveraging other things that might be a cost. You might look at things like a cost, but ultimately it's more of an investment to focus on the wealth building activities like sourcing or anything else that you might do. So I did a live last night, and that was one of the things. It was like the mindset of an employee as opposed to a business owner. So you probably kind of sometimes it takes a breakdown to have a breakthrough. So you probably, because you had to go to the States then, is that where you're coming around to?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you say, I was an employee. I'm also quite naturally thrifty or stingy or whatever word you want to use. I want to bootstrap everything because I want to, I'm not really like that this anymore, because I think most entrepreneurs grow out of this, but at the time I was very much penny pinching and wanting to just do everything myself, because I figured if there's an extra few minutes in the day, then I'm going to use that to prep my stock and all that sort of thing, and I was working incredibly long hours, and and I guess that's probably what a lot of people do, but fortunately for me, getting banned was almost a good thing, because I then found the US market. I found out that I can actually buy books on Amazon and eBay and other book websites in America, and I can ship them to a prep warehouse in Virginia, and then they can ship that into Amazon, and I can sell books that I've bought that I can profit on that I don't even need to touch. And that's the crazy thing, that 4 years later I've sold $2 million worth of books more, and I've not even touched a single one, which is pretty cool and pretty amazing. And I might not have even been in this situation if I wasn't forced into it almost. So I guess that's just a takeaway for anyone like listening or watching, that you should, you want to outsource things such as prep, which are so time consuming, as soon as you can, really, as soon as you can afford it. And the fortunate thing with books is that the margins are so good that if you're paying a couple of dollars for the prep service to do all of that work for you, all of those hours, then you're getting your money's worth and way more, because if you're buying a book for $10 and you're selling it for 40, then you're not even worried about the prep fees, are you? And usually it's it can be a lot better margins than that. Sometimes it's not as good, but that's the great thing about books. But so ever since then, I've been selling just books, just secondhand books as well. No new books, because I haven't looked for wholesalers for new books or suppliers, but I've just been happy and content selling secondhand books up until now. And I didn't even have a virtual assistant until last January. So I've had, I started building a team in January last year, and I quickly went from 1 virtual assistant to 5 now, looking to probably expand to 8 by the end of this year, maybe more, just because I want to push on the sales. So I think in 2019 I did like nearly 500k sales no, it's like 450, and then 2020 it was 565, and then last year just under $1.1 million in sales, and then this year I want to make 2 million. So to get to 2 million, I'm gonna have to, you know, build the team bigger, build better systems, but yeah, that's pretty much me. That's my background on Amazon as of now, and yeah, ready to keep pushing on and make some more sales.
Cool. Yeah, guys, we've got 8-9 people watching. So what we'll do, kind of how we'll structure this, we'll go on a deep dive, kind of Seth's story, and get a bit more detail around getting set up in the States and that side of things. I think that was one of the questions from, I'll look it up who asked that, and I don't think she's able to make the live, so we'll ask kind of nitty-gritty questions around that. We'll cover a bit more of the timeline. We'll also talk about Seth's big into traveling, and he now runs his own Facebook group and starting up his podcast as well, which is super interesting. So can you just not start again, but in terms of your kind of timeline, you made your first sale Amazon UK, was that 2018? Is that right?
Yeah, about February 2018. Yeah.
Okay, and then buying from unscrupulous sources on eBay for a year, probably margins like 95%, stuff like that, give or take. And then you started actually in the States, selling books. When did that start?
So as soon as I got banned in June or July 2018, I still was obsessed with the Amazon business model and arbitrage in general, and I knew that I couldn't quit there. And fortunately, for some reason, because Amazon UK and Amazon.com are separate business units, you can be banned on UK and EU, which I am banned on all of them, but you can still open an account on .com, even under the same limited company, the same email address. All you need to do.
Oh wow!
I got a lot of questions on this as well, but it's actually really easy to open up a US account from UK. You pretty much there's a link I can share or something like that, but it's pretty much you pretty much just have to, like, everyone's got access to a global Amazon selling account. You know, we can all sell on Canada, Mexico, Japan, UAE, all over Australia, and all you need to do is kind of enable your global selling account and then click on the particular principality or whatever country you want to select. So I think it only took me about 10 minutes to get set up on the US. It might take a little bit longer now, because I think you have to do some sort of interview to show Amazon that you're human and that you're not just some bot. But I don't think that takes very long. I think that just takes like 20 minutes, and you just have to like select a time for Amazon to interview you. But all I had to do was click this global selling account. People need to do the interview, and then you have to fill out an W8 BEN form or something like that, just to show that you're a limited company and that you're taxed by UK government rather than the US. Obviously, if you're creating an LLC, it'll be different for you, but if you've got a limited company, that's what you need to do. You fill out that form, you sign it, and you're pretty much good to go. I think that's pretty much all you have to do.
So off you go. Cool.
Yeah, and it's quite nice that it's so simple to do.
So that was that. You got set up very, very straightforward. It was very straightforward to get set up. And was it because then you'd kind of had your fingers burnt doing sort of arbitrage from eBay that you went into books? Or was it, you mentioned like an email sequence or a funnel? Was there any particular reason why it was books and not, OA or wholesale?
The main reason why it was books was because I knew that there was no VAT on books. So for some reason, I just cottoned on to books, and then I love reading anyway, and I love the concept of I'm just buying secondhand books that have already been read and potentially had coffee spilt on them, and I'm making money out of that. And the fact that I think there's about 18 million books on Amazon, maybe more now. So it's the fact that it's a really deep pool. It's the deepest category. So I thought if I can specialize in books, which I'm interested in anyway, and get really, really, really good at it, then I should be able to find an edge and a gap in the market that other people aren't necessarily picking up on. And obviously there's hundreds of other booksellers, FBM and FBA, but I think because there's so many books out there, there's plenty of the pie for everyone, just like with wholesale and with OA in general. So yeah, that's why I picked books. And I fell into an email list that was that was based around buying and selling books. I won't mention the name because the guy who runs this Facebook group has booted me from his group, and he's done a hate video on me as well. But he did actually get me. He actually got me into the books niche, so I'm kind of grateful for him. But he hates me now, so
it's pretty interesting. Yeah, like I love reading. You can see I've sold used books before. My kind of approach was blind, so I think I bought 2 or 3 pallets of books from a charity outlet. They shipped it to a prep center. Prep center prepped everything, sent it on, and yeah, made some good money on that. But it was done blind. It was done bulk. So
that was all in the UK, was it?
Yeah, it was just in the UK.
Okay.
I was doing some, like, I was bored. I think I was waiting for Sarah to get picked up from somewhere, and did some RA. Got chatting to the shop assistant. Ended up getting chatting. Left a business card, and got chatting to the manager. And basically, with used books, like, Seth, the big thing with charity shops is that, well, I suppose you're not doing it from charity shops, so this is slightly off tangent, but charity shops, the big premium that they're struggling with is space. So they don't want more donations, because they just don't have room. So I ended up going to a warehouse in Belfast with just pallets of used books, pallets of clothes, and all that type of stuff. So, like, I named this live, can you still make money selling books on Amazon? And like you've said, it's the biggest category on the website.
Yeah, I mean, it's what they started with, and books are not going anywhere. You know, we've got Kindles. I've got a Kindle, but I still buy, hard copies and paperbacks because people just prefer, it in your hands. The user experience of reading a book's way better on, in real physical copy than a Kindle, right? So I can't see that changing anytime soon, especially with textbooks and learning. I think it's scientifically proven. Loads of studies have said that you learn better from a physical copy, and you're not going to be able to learn as well on an iPad or a Kindle anyway. So I just think it's a thriving industry it's not going anywhere, and yeah, you can definitely still make money on books. It interests me that you made money on the pallets though, because I would assume that there'll be a few gems in the pallet, a few collectible books, few maybe comics or textbooks or whatever, but I would think that the vast majority would be, I don't know, maybe children books or books that just aren't worth anything, especially FBA. So it surprises me that you made money.
There were some duds, and a lot of them, I feel, they got thrown out. But I was buying them for pennies. Like, I was literally buying them for pennies.
Right. Okay.
So the very short conversation I had with the manager, she basically said, got all these books, stuck with them, and I don't like the company that we're currently selling to. Long story short, what did you like about them? I said, well, it's the amount that we get per book. I said, well, how much do you get per book? And she said, well, we'll get 50p per sack of books. And she showed me a sack, and it was like,
wow,
for like a 20-kilogram bag of potatoes is one of those sacks. And they were getting like 50p for one of those sacks. And I was like, well, I'll tell you what, I want to give back. It's a charity. I'm happy to, if you tell me what you're happy for a sack of books, we'll do that. And came to agreements, bought 3 pallets, sent them to the prep center, and then got some, like you say, some real gems, got some stuff that maybe made 20, 30p on, all that type of stuff. Some stuff sat for too long, had it recalled. And that was numbers. That was a numbers game. But that opened my eyes to, like you say, a prep center, because that was the first time I actually used the prep center for that. And that took me on a path to where I see where the benefit of me speaking to someone and having that shipped to someone else to do all this. So for me to prep 3 pallets worth of books, I'd probably still be doing it. And yeah, it was Yeah, so it's just a message from Trudy. Yeah, the prep center I used actually created the listings as well. So yeah, there was
That's the
that. There
same
was
for
that
my
option.
prep center as well. They should offer that as an extra. You know, you'll pay an extra penny fee, right, or dollar fee.
Whatever.
Yeah, and it's always worth it.
Yeah. So, but your technique is much more, I'd say, kind of laser focused, kind of like dartboard rather than splatter gun. So you talked about getting really good at finding used books. I think, yeah, you use Keeper to analyze opportunities. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that looks like?
Yeah, so I I saw the potential of books because I was really lucky, right, that when I joined in July, August in the book market in the US is just huge because it's textbook season. January's massive as well, but August is the big one. And
Yeah.
I just got up. I obviously we all know what we all make bad buys when we first get into RA and OA and everything. So I obviously made a ton of bad buys to begin with because I was seeing I was seeing the FBM price of a book. I was buying it because the FBA price was really high. Little did I know that the FBA price can come crashing down on books just like in a matter of days, if that amount of hours. But I was really lucky that when I sent my books in July, I was actually getting a really inflated price for all my textbooks. So I was buying some books for like $20 and selling them for $150 because I was buying them in July when they were cheap, and I was selling them in August when they were in demand and all the students wanted them, and there weren't many offers left. And
Gotcha.
mine was dropping into Amazon at say the end of August. There's only a few offers left. There might be a new copy at $300 that obviously a lot of students don't want to pay $300 for it. So if I'm offering it for $150, then everyone, they're happy to pay that even though it's really
Yeah.
inflated.
It's
And they're
win-win
not looking.
forever.
Yeah, they're not looking at a keeper graph, are they? These students, so they don't realize. Oh, if I'd have just been a bit more organized, I would have saved $130 to spend on, beers and going out or whatever. But
Yeah.
that works really well. So I learned from my mistakes, which fortunately weren't actually that bad mistakes, and I got really lucky in the sense that my fall was kind of cushioned by the textbook season. So, but I still didn't really understand books and the business model that well. So in the first 6 months, I didn't make a ton of money, but I knew there was something in it. And then finally something clicked at the end of the year. I'm not sure why, but I started to realize that what I was doing, I was spending my time probably employee focused still because I was still doing my job. I was focused on the analogy that I've heard and I like to use is like fishing, right? So you can go out fishing and you've got one rod, and if you're really good at fishing, you can maybe catch 5 to 10 fish, whatever, right? But then I came to the realization that wait a second, if I lay loads of rods out and maybe like nets on the bottom of the riverbed or whatever, I can come back tomorrow or in a few days and there'll be loads of fish on in the nets or whatever. And that's where Keeper comes into play with alerts. So I didn't realize the power of the fact that you can track a book, you can see its previous price history over the last 12 months, and you can see that maybe a book that consistently sells at say $50, you can see that maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times a year this book is sold by an FBM seller for $10. So if you know that consistently this book is dropping and being sold very quickly at that price, I can set an alert at 12 for Keeper to alert me when this book goes below say 15 or $12. I know that if I can click that buy button quick enough, quicker than everyone else, I can send that into Virginia, into Amazon, and sell that for 50. And all I need to do is just scale that model essentially. So it's just tracking as many books as possible and with as many alerts as possible. And unfortunately, Keeper's only got a 5,000 maximum, but I found that just getting to that 5,000 was still wildly more profitable than what I was doing, which was just manually sourcing books day to day. So yeah, as soon as I noticed that, my sales and profits just went through the roof, and that's why that year it went from, I did like less than $50,000 in that half year, maybe even 30,000, and then went straight to 450, just because I was doing something that I'm sure a lot of other people were doing, but I don't think necessarily people were doing it at the scale that I was, maybe. But either way, it's been really successful and it's been working ever since. And that's my business model, and that's my edge.
Wow.
So,
Well, I suppose 15 into 50 less fees is what, $15 profit, something like that.
Yeah, well, the standard,
More?
yeah, my standard is, so my ASP is around $60, and I generally spend $20 on a book. So I'll probably make, yeah, 15 to $20 profit per book generally.
Yeah.
So it's pretty lucrative. It's obviously, it ranges wildly. I mean, I bought a book. So my best two sales happened last year. I bought a
Go
book
on
for
then.
$100. Bought a book for $100, sold it for $1,400, and I bought another book for $100 and sold it for 1,000. Bonkers,
Nice.
right?
Yeah.
Bonkers. And
The
I kept looking
textbooks
at the
or
refunds. I
collectibles
just
or
no. What? Well, one of them was like a collectible coffee table book, and it went out to the Virgin Islands. So I just assume it's just some really rich person who's got a really nice house and wants a really nice book on their coffee table. And then the other one was a really obscure law book. So I assume a law firm, obviously, they've got a massive budget to spend, and they don't mind spending $1,000 on a book. So yeah, it's interesting, like super interesting. That's why I still love selling books, you know, because it's just, you see those sales coming. It's just, you want to know what that book's about,
magic.
like what's the story behind it, you know. So it's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have a few questions, so we'll dig into questions shortly. Just to give you a bit of a break, I did have offered anyone on the live and anyone on the replay, if you want to book a Scale Your Business call. So we've actually revamped our offer and we've revamped our consultation approach and our discovery call. So if you want to book a strategy call where we'll analyze your business where it is, we'll show you some case studies of people we've done this with already, and basically put together a bespoke level of support for people who want to go full time, earn more money, reduce the time spent in their business, whatever it may be. So yeah, we've had some real success with that recently, and yeah, some super success stories with clients. So if you want to get booked into a call to discuss support, no better time than today to do that. So just drop that link to get booked in. We have a few questions. So we'll link out to Seth's Facebook page as well, where I think you're pretty good at documenting your journey and your story as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about your Facebook group?
Yeah, so I set that up in, I think, October 2019, and I'm trying to think of why I did it. I just wanted to kind of share what I was doing, just because I think, wait, what was going on then? Was that, either way, I was just wanting to kind of get into the community a bit more. I'd joined Facebook groups before, but I'd been getting my head down, you know, just buying and selling books. Just, I was working all day, every day doing that, and then I kind of took a bit of a breather and thought, oh, it'd be nice to actually get to know a few people in the community and other people doing arbitrage and stuff. So I set up a group called Sell Books FBA. Got it to about 1,000 members by Christmas, which was quite cool. And then I kind of got a bit lazy with it and didn't really do a lot with it. So in the last few months, I've kind of just been posting out some more content, just because it's really cool who you meet. You know, I've made some really cool, well, friends and business connections. And I would say that my sales have definitely gone through the roof just because of certain people that I've met and certain advice that I've got, you know, like in the form of, you know, informal mentors or business partners. You know, I've done a few business deals with people just through getting my face out there. And it's that intangible thing that you don't realize what you're going to get until you do it, right? And it's so cool. And I just think I was very lazy at the start of last year, well, for pretty much 6 to 9 months. And that's why I'm picking it back up again, because I just know that getting yourself out there is, you just get so much value from it that you just never knew existed before. And I'm a bit of an introvert, but it's nice to put yourself out there, like get out of your comfort zone. So
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, anyone just in general, like Seth said, that some of the best connections that I've made is just putting myself out there. I created a Facebook group for Amazon sellers in Northern Ireland, met Eamon, I met Donal, I met other sellers, and yeah, like I wouldn't be here without doing that. And like you said, Seth, like there's that cliche that your network is your net worth,
Yeah.
and but it's so true. Just simply like getting yourself out there and asking questions. It's so powerful. It's one of those big things. It's like you don't know what you don't know until you kind of hear someone talk about it, or you see someone's approach to business that's just completely different. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. I really kind of want to dig into, so you went from like 45, say let's say 45K, $45,000 year one to like 10xing that. You did that whilst you were still working, or how did that work, or
Yeah,
what did
so
that
I
look
was
like?
doing my so when I first started, I was pretty much getting up at say 5 or 6 a.m., working until 8:15, getting to work,
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
like doing as bare minimum as possible. Like this job, it was just terrible. And then in my lunch hour, I was trying to buy some more books, and then when I got home from work, I was just doing the same right up until I went to sleep, and pretty much just feeding times was the only time that I wasn't either thinking about Amazon. Well, I was thinking about Amazon or doing something. So that carried on right way through 2018, and then in 2019, I think whilst I was getting the alerts, like motoring on and building as many ASINs as possible, tracking as many as possible, I got to a point where I'd easily replaced my accountant income. So I quit my job in 2019 around May, I think, just because I had a nice buffer. So it took me about a year, just under a year and a half, to go from not really having any entrepreneurialness about me to then quitting my job, which was pretty
that's
cool.
awesome, man. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I was
awesome.
just it was just because as soon as I saw something, I was just laser focused then. And it's like you see it's a bit trite or cliche, but you see it online a lot. It's like just you focus on the one thing. Like there's that book called The One Thing or something like that, and it's spot on, because if you don't get shiny object syndrome, because at the time before I found Amazon, I was looking at trading Bitcoin or FX trading or all kinds
Yeah,
of things, and my mind was occupied by too many different things. But as soon as I just thought, look, if I can buy as many books as possible, sell as many books as possible, then that's my ticket out of the 9 to 5. So yeah, I got to there in the May 2019, and then I haven't looked back since, really.
amazing. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And you did that with like that a team as well?
Yeah, so sorry, that's what I was going to get onto. So yeah,
Yeah, no, no,
yeah,
carry on,
so
yeah.
that whole year I was, because I was just really scared to hire anyone, really. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't, I've never managed a team before, even in employment. I've never done anything like that. So it was quite alien to me, and I was plugging along quite well. And because of my thriftiness, penny pinching, I was just thinking, well, if I don't have to pay a virtual assistant anything, then I'm getting that money back, right? Which actually is completely backward, because as soon as I hired a VA, my sales doubled again.
Yeah,
So that's another thing I could talk about this for days, but it's like once you hire someone, your whole world changes, right?
yeah.
Because you
Game
realize
changer.
that,
Absolute game changer.
yeah.
Absolute
And
game changer.
I went from being happy to doing all the admin, sending all my receipts to the accountant, to now, if I have to even lift a finger, I'm thinking, wait, who can I get to do this so that I can spend more time
Yeah,
thinking about how I can scale my business, right? And
yeah,
that's the game changing thing. And annoyingly, it took me the best part of like 3 years to get to that point, which is annoying. But I'm also glad that I got very good at selling books myself, and I got very good at learning the market and knowing exactly what's good to buy and what's not good to buy. Admittedly, it went on for too long, but I am, I'm not
it's
filled
a
with
good
regret.
problem. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's kind of a good problem to have, that you waited too long to outsource, I suppose. I was exactly the same. Like I was years before I was started 2020 whenever I hired my first team member, and yeah, should have done it way sooner, because you hire one and then it's like, oh wow, that's such a big difference.
yeah,
And two, three, four, five, and six like happen pretty quickly after that. So
yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You start to realize that everything's replaceable, right? Like no job is like you don't do anything that's unique, really. Like, everything can be done by someone else. We're not asking people to code, like do some really fancy code developer work, right? It's anyone can do it.
Yeah. And like, kind of, what's the right word? Philanthropic point of view to kind of look at it is like the impact you can have.
Yeah.
Someone, the other side of the world is powerful as well. So yeah, I get a lot from that.
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
And it's just a cool new skill to learn, right? Like building I kind of joke with people who ask that, like, what's your job? And I just say, well, it's actually just answering questions in Skype, which is kind of most of what I do at the moment. But it is obviously there is more nuance to it than that. But it's completely changing from being a cog you're working in your business to managing a team. And I'm still learning. I'm still totally not good at it. And I'm hopefully getting better every day, and we'll see where that gets me.
Yeah. Every day's a school day, as they say.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Well, we'll kind of cover I suppose we've done the beginning and the middle. We'll cover the end after some questions. So we have some questions coming through. If you cover them, Seth, that'd be awesome. Not sure who that's from, but how do you get ungated in books?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So there are a bunch of very fast selling textbooks where there's a massive problem in the US with counterfeits. To a lesser extent in the UK as well. There's, for example, the most counterfeited book in the world is the DSM-5. I don't know if you know it. It's like a psychology textbook that's very famous,
Right, okay.
and I don't think no one's actually sure what color the original is. It might be black, it might be blue, it might be purple. I don't know. I actually sold a couple in the UK, shock horror, without realizing this was probably counterfeit. I made a lot of money on the DSM-5 because it sells probably hundreds.
Do you know
a
the
day.
crazy thing is? Right. Do you know the crazy thing is? Like, I thought counterfeit books. Why would you go to the trouble of like counterfeit the book? You have to print all those pages and stuff. But I actually sourced one from like a charity shop. Like, it was textbooks, pile of textbooks, and it was like this book, and the text was really close to what's the middle part, the spine.
Margin, yeah. Oh right, yeah.
And it wasn't quite straight, and it's like, shit, this is a counterfeit textbook. And it's like, it is actually, because they're so valuable.
And that's a very bad one, right? Some of them are really good. So my prep center actually last week said that they received a book which I bought from a US seller, but it came from Saudi Arabia, and luckily my prep center are really good at noticing potential counterfeits, and she said that it looks really good, it looks like a proper textbook, the binding's solid, but it's from Saudi Arabia, so it's probably not worth the risk. And I definitely got it cheaper than you should have got it because it's a very new book. So these counterfeits are getting better and harder to spot all the time, which is it's a bit of a worry for booksellers. But what you can do is make sure you're not selling, basically avoid textbooks from certain publishers such as Cengage and McGraw-Hill, which actually, when you're a new seller, or even me, you actually can't sell a lot of those books anyway. So you're not allowed to sell the DSM-5 unless you've got a really old Amazon account. It would be probably 10 years plus. You'll be grandfathered in. So there's a bunch of textbooks that I can't sell. And no one will ever be able to sell them, I don't think, just because of this problem. But when you're a new seller on Amazon, there are a lot of books that you're not allowed to sell or can't sell. But I don't actually know the method of being ungated in books, but as far as I know, I think it's just a case of tenure and how old your account is. So I can sell quite a lot of books now just because I've got a 3.5-year-old account, and I've got quite a few feedbacks. And I think it's just if you sell a wide range of books and you've been selling for a while and you've got lots of feedbacks, then you start to slowly get ungated in more and more books. So I can sell Marvel books, for example, while a new seller probably can't sell Marvel books for whatever reason. So yeah, that's the only way. You just got to keep on selling. Okay,
cool. Hopefully that's answered your question. I think, Trudy, how's things? Prep Center create the listings. So you've talked about your prep centers being quite good at noticing like counterfeit books. Are they sort of like a specialist book prep center, if there's such a thing, or is it just
There are
experience?
specialist book preppers. I think they started with doing just books, but now they'll do OA and wholesale, but their bread and butter is books.
Cool.
And yeah, if anyone wants to, I can send them a link to the prep center if people are interested. But yeah, they're really good, and they just charge a per item fee and then extra for listing if you want. And some people like to list them themselves, but I don't know why people do that, because if you're not seeing the book yourself, then why would you list it? Because then you don't know what the condition is. So if you want to save 50 cents, then save 50 cents per book. But personally, I don't think that makes much sense.
Gotcha. Cool. I think that's from Stephen Taggart. How's it going, Steve? What do you do with all the books you don't sell, returns, etc.? What's the arrangements there?
Yeah, so obviously there's going to be a percentage of books that just don't sell because of whatever reason, and you'll also get a certain percentage of return. So I think my return rate is anything from 5 to 7%, maybe 4 to 7, something like that, depending on the month. It will usually be higher in August and January because a lot of students will maybe read a bit of it and then send it back, or they'll send
Typical
you back.
Students.
Yeah, or they'll send you back the wrong edition, or you've bought the 13th and they'll send you the 12th back, and it's very frustrating because obviously it's fraud on the students' behalf. But you've just got, because we know what Amazon's like, we've not really got any leg to stand on, unfortunately. So I just chalk that up as a business expense. We've exactly, take the L. Same with the books you don't sell. I make sure that myself and the team are obviously buying books that on the keeper, we're doing extensive keeper analysis to make sure that we think that this book that we're buying should sell within hopefully 60 days, but at worst 90. Anything over 90, we're aggressively dropping the price, happy to take a loss. And then even after that aggressive repricing, I will have it set up on Amazon so that after 12 months, if a book hasn't sold, we'll just dispose of it, because it's probably not worth anything. It's not going to sell if we bring it back, and the disposal fee is not that big. And I find that I've got about 4,000 books in my inventory at the moment, and I'll probably only have about 10 to 15 a month that will be 12 months old. And obviously, for people who don't know, after 12 months, the long-term storage fees are just massive, especially for books, because if you've got a really big, heavy book, then you're going to be paying like dollars per week just to store that in Amazon. So it makes sense just to dispose of it. So that's what I do. But yeah, it's all in the buying, right? It's all in the keeper analysis, and to make sure that you are not buying duds or books that won't sell, and that minimizes your losses, really. But you are obviously always going to get losses.
Yeah, I think return rate for us is this month it's slightly higher, it's about 4%. Last year, I think I did a post in Vlad's group. It was 2.5% over the year.
That's pretty good.
So, yeah.
So they sell in particular categories all over, or?
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's easier to say what I don't sell than what I do. It's kind of everything bar automotive and books really. So we're kind of spread out pretty wide. So we don't really get hit with that many returns. So
awesome.
As our resident Isle of Manor. So good question. What kind of places do you source your stock from, or is that top secret?
It's not top secret because in America there's a lot of book sites, but there's a certain few that are bigger than others. So the biggest one is obviously Amazon, and I will do a lot of Amazon to Amazon flips. The 2 books that I talked about earlier that sold for $1,000 and more, they were both sourced on Amazon, which is crazy.
I was going to call you something there, Seth, but I won't bother.
So I bought those FBM. Obviously, the seller completely mispriced their book. They should have, they probably missed out a zero on their selling. So I nipped in there and bought those 2, and sent them back in, and resold them, and that happens a lot. We'll do a lot of buying on Amazon. I know for a fact that a bunch of people who sell full time will just do Amazon to Amazon flips pretty much, and that's crazy, right? Like, we live in a world where you can buy a book on the same website that you sell it on and make a living. You don't have to have a 9 to 5 just by doing that, just by getting really good at that. So that blows my mind still. And the great thing is that you've got Amazon, but you've also got eBay. Bunch of books sell on eBay. Often eBay will be the cheapest price to buy a book because it's the cheapest fees to sell books, I think.
Fees, yeah.
And it is a good site to buy on. And then there's other sites called like Alibris.com, abooks.com, and then there's a bunch of sites that I actually can't buy on because I haven't got a US billing address, which is a bit annoying because I would probably be able to just, my sales probably would have been bigger if I could sell on those sites. And there's no secret sauce
for this year. That's how you're going to scale this year. You know, different things you can do. So it's crazy when you think about it, like the amount of leverage you can get from like one method. Like you said, just Amazon to Amazon flips, just that one method. It's like a full-time living there, but it does take that laser focus. It does take, kind of traction and improvements each day, I suppose.
Yeah, and you've got to get really good at one, but you do have to be good at multiple. So I think a lot of people with books, they are concerned not just on, you know, where you source from, what sites, but like how you source. There are different ways of sourcing, right? So that you just need, so you need to get good at your Amazon flips. You need to work out how eBay works, and you need to be good at eBay to Amazon flips, and it's that sort of thing. And for example, there's lots of cheap books in the UK that are really cheap here, but they'll be worth a lot of money in the US. So that's another method, for example. And like each site have got their own. So like, for example, there's a site called biblio.com, which has a want list, and you can type in an ASIN, and if that book isn't there at the price you want, you can actually set an alert there and then and say, look, when this book hits $30, please email me, and they'll send you a daily email. And I don't know what the maximum is for that, but I've got quite a few set up on that, and that's just another sourcing technique, right? So this is what I'll tell people, that, you know, that's one avenue to make money. Amazon's another way, eBay's another way, and if you can, you know, utilize all of these at once, then you potentially can make, you know, build a 6-7 figure business like I have. Really
awesome. Do you ever use the wish lists? I'll just hide that question. There's those wish lists on Amazon. Do you ever use those for sourcing?
I've looked into
it, but I kind of never really pushed it.
No, I just don't really. I've looked at it, and it didn't seem to work in the way that I wanted it to, and it just frustrated me because it looked like it could have been really useful.
Makes sense though. It's like, I want this, and here's a list of things, and then if you can source that, then
you'd think they'd want to help you out, because then that means you're going to use their platform more. But maybe they don't realize there's just so many arbitragers trying to do that.
Would you use different accounts to buy and sell for the Amazon to Amazon flips? So good question.
Yeah, good question. I think you actually really don't want to do that, because I think that's against Amazon's terms of service. I don't think they like it when you buy on one account and sell on another. But I might be wrong on that. But all I will say is that Amazon has got nothing wrong with you buying and selling on the same account with Amazon. There's nothing against terms of service. The only thing that you must bear in mind is that you should never buy a book FBA and pay for prime shipping or get prime shipping and then resell that, because then you're getting a competitive advantage over everyone else. Amazon hates that. So that's one thing that I just don't have a prime account on the US or the UK, because I just don't want to mess around with Amazon. And even when you don't have a prime account, right, you can pay for the prime shipping, but just, I tell my team, you know, that's a big no-no. And obviously you could get away with it, but what's the point in risking it when there's plenty of other books that aren't FBA prime? And usually prime books aren't as cheap anyway, because they're going to be pricing themselves higher, right? Unless it's a mistake. But I do just saying that, I do buy lots of FBA prime books, but I just make sure to pay for the standard delivery. And that's another sourcing technique.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Cool. So that's pretty much it for questions, guys. We've got kind of 8-9 people watching, and yeah, on the replay as well. So any further questions, drop them, we'll get them answered. Do you want to talk a little bit about 2022, what you've got planned, what you're currently doing, your group, podcasts, traveling, what you've got planned and things?
Yeah, so I've set some quite lofty goals. I've put a couple in my group, business ones. I've got some more personal ones. One of which we were talking a little bit about before off air was, I want to do an extended amount of time not drinking, and I found that just this month so far, I've done so much more than I would have with drinking. I think I've set up a new business. I've potentially got an investment property in the pipeline that I'm going to purchase. I've recorded 2 podcasts, so like there's just so much stuff that I've done that I wouldn't have done before. But yeah, 2022, the main takeaways that I want to, like, in December, look back and think that's pretty cool, is I want to do 2 million in sales, so that would be nearly doubling last year. And I want to get podcasts off the ground, which will be based around, I haven't even got a name for it yet, which is pretty shocking, but it's just going to be talking to people like yourself, people who are doing well on Amazon, who've got got an interesting story to tell. And I just want to tease out the tips and tricks and kind of the key skills you need to make it on Amazon, because I know when I started there wasn't really that many podcasts out there. I think there's 1 or 2, and the ones I listened to were really helpful, but they were mainly based around private label. So they were useful, but it wasn't really hitting the spot. And the thing I love about podcasts, I absolutely adore podcasts anyway, and I think it's been one of the most, like, alongside maybe like the gym, it's been one of the most helpful things for me self-development wise over the last few years. So I consume them I consume 5 to 6 hours a day. So I figured, why don't I produce one myself, because I listen to one so much. And just like we were talking about earlier with the value that you get from getting yourself out of the community, I just figured that podcast is just going to do what the Facebook group has done and much more. And also love the fact that podcasts have got a really long tail, right? People will listen to a podcast that's 4 years old and it will be evergreen. It will still be relevant. The annoying thing about a Facebook group is the Facebook post, once it's a week or 2 weeks old, not many people are going to scroll down and see. You might have put a really good post out 2 weeks ago and people aren't going to look at it, right? So I want to get something out there that shows that's really valuable for the budding Amazon seller and, the advanced seller as well. Like, I just want to build a bit of a podcast community for the Amazon seller. So yeah, those are my main 2 things. And like we talked about earlier as well, about focus and focusing on 1 or 2 things. I just want to really focus on building the books, getting as many sales as possible, and getting the podcast off the ground in tandem with the Facebook group, and that's going to be where my focus is. I'm excited for it. Hopefully you'll come on the podcast if you're willing.
I'll be an
awesome.
honor. Appreciate that. Cool. Yeah. So one last question. I think this, pretty cool question. So how do you structure your time? Do you have set days you do things? How do you plan your week?
That's a great question. Very good question.
That's from
So
Claire from Isle of Man. How you doing, Claire? She'll know what that means.
Hey, Claire.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, so I don't really do any sort of structuring, in the sense, it goes back to what we were saying about focus. That if you're just focused on one thing, you kind of already know what you need to do. All I do is very simple. I have a Trello. Do you know Trello? Do you use Trello?
Yeah, Trello, yeah.
It is just a very basic to-do list, but it looks pretty, and I can set it up so that I've got tabs for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If I know I need to do something by a certain day or on a certain day, I'll put it on the day. But generally, I will just have, so today I had my Wednesday list. I'll get through as many as possible. The ones I don't get through, I'll just put onto Thursday. And that is pretty much all I do. And I know there's other people out there who've got really fancy calendars and they've got all their time cordoned out, and I've got respect for that and time for that. Yeah, and I'm sure I probably will get to that point this year if the podcast gets really like time consuming, and I've got to save time for editing and sourcing guests and whatnot. But at the moment, it's pretty much just a to-do list, and that's done me good so far. I like to keep things simple. I really don't. I'm a bit of a minimalist. I don't like things to be complex.
Yes,
So I like
keep
to
it
know.
simple, stupid.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, keep it simple, stupid. That's it, isn't it? So I don't know if you wanted Claire wanted a better answer than that, but no, I don't think it's
No,
necessary if you don't want it. It's down to what you're into, right? So but I have been utilizing my calendar a lot more this month, which makes me think that in future months this year, I think I will be using the calendar a lot more, shall we say?
Cool. I think that's a pretty good note to end on. We'll check your calendar in a month's time, Seth, and hopefully you've done your homework and you've done your
Yeah.
work in your calendar. No, great to have you on. And yeah, it's been super interesting. It's kind of reignited my fire for books. And yeah, like I used to love sourcing books. It's great fun. Yeah, it's interesting. And like you say, there's always a kind of a story behind them as well, which is pretty cool.
So many opportunities.
Cool. Well, here, someone has just snuck in another question. Can you give a few examples of tasks you still handle? So what do you still do in the business, Seth, just to squeeze this
Okay, so I will overlook the accounts and like the VAT returns and stuff. Anything that's kind of important financially, I will do, because I find that it doesn't take me that much time to look over a financial document. And I think pretty much the only thing I will still do is, well, I'll look at my sales daily, just because I like to look at what books are selling, and it allows me to know whether my team are pricing my books properly. So I'll always look at my orders every day. And one other thing I do is my 90-day-old inventory, I like to reprice myself, just because I like to know which books haven't sold yet. But I'm very aware that is a task that I shouldn't be doing, and I need to give to my team. And that's just a legacy thing that I've been too stubborn to give up. So I'm pretty sure in the next 3 months that will go, and it will just be the important financial stuff, talking to my accountant, that I do. And I don't know about you, Lloyd. Like, what sort of stuff do you still do? I'm interested to know.
Basically, get in the way, to be honest. Yeah, like my team are awesome. Like they do everything. Everything's
That's
done
what you want.
remotely. Yeah, I pretty much get in the way of them most of the time. Facilitate meetings, give them direction as best I can, and yeah, I mean, for me, like the team is kind of the heartbeat of like my business. So without them, it's not really a business. So I'm just trying to give a kind of 30,000 foot view, if that makes sense, and just trying to look at direction for the year and say, kind of give them the tools and the environment to facilitate, and for them to manage the business themselves. So yeah, I don't really get involved in sourcing at all anymore, which, like, I love sourcing. It's great finding a book at $100 and selling it for 1,400. That's pretty cool. It gives you a bit of a rush.
I do still buy the occasional book, but only because I've got my Keeper Alert Chrome notifications on. And if I know that if I buy a certain book and it's going to make me $200, I know I shouldn't, but I just do still do it. But it's interesting what you say. Like, it sounds like you could leave your business for 6 weeks, 3 months, and nothing really will change. I know that if I leave it for that much time, it will still be making money, but it won't be making as much money as I'd like, probably. So that's definitely something that I want to be doing this year, as well as growing the sales. It's making the team more efficient and building systems that make sure that I don't need to be in it.
Cool. Yeah, the book that really helped me with this, and it's through the work I've done with Luke, is a book called Traction. So I'd strongly recommend that. Guy called Gino Wickman. The book called Traction, I've recommended to Sebastian. And
I'll note it down.
Yeah, it's
going
great.
on. It's going on my Trello.
It's going on the Trello. Yeah, it's great. It's how you like structure meetings, and you basically have goals for the year, 5 years, 10 years, and then you break down those year goals into quarters, and then goals for the quarter into rocks. So you'll have rocks that you want to move, and it's about, to move a mountain, you start with rocks. So it's just kind of big goals, medium, and then kind of daily and weekly tasks. So it's, yeah.
Sounds
It's
good. So what was the
super.
author?
It's a guy called Gino Wickman.
Okay, cool. I'll check that
Traction.
one out for sure.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Well, guys, hopefully that's been useful. And thank you again, buddy, for coming on.
I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Been awesome. So over and out, guys. Have a good one, and we'll see you next week. Take care. See ya.
Cheers. Bye-bye.